What's going on, guys? Nate with REIPrintMail here. We are going live. We're going to let some people join in as we get going here. Looks like we got 17 people in the room. Today, we're going to be pulling a list. If you guys are sending mail or doing any kind of marketing, you know that the list is probably the most important thing. So we're going to learn to pull a few different types of lists today. We're going to look at a couple different kits. So also, we're going to give some mail away. So we're going to give away 1,000 pieces. So stick around. Make sure you guys like and subscribe. We're trying to grow this channel. So feel free to like and subscribe. We're also going to be doing more videos into the future to help add value for you guys. So you don't want to miss out. You'll get those notifications as we start to put that stuff out. So like and subscribe, please. But today, my name, again, is Nate Zarowski. I'll be the one going over everything, pulling those lists. If you have any questions, put them in the comments section, and we'll do our best to keep up with those. Let's see what we got. We got Sam Moore in the house. All right. Do me a favor. Go ahead and just react in the chat if you're in here. Let's just see what we got going. All right, so we got Sam's our only one here. All right, cool. We'll get this thing started in just a few minutes. Oh, there we go. Philip's in the house. All right, if you guys want, as you come in, go ahead and just comment your market. We'll go ahead and pull a list in that area so you can see. Go ahead and comment where you're at, what you're doing. Let us know who you are. If you're working with us, awesome. Let us know. Anybody have any questions while we're getting warmed up here? All right. All right. So we got Scott. Scott's talking about Baton Rouge, Louisiana. I like it. So we'll start with Baton Rouge. Should we let some more people join here, or should we hop right on in? I think what I'm going to do is share the screen. Let's go ahead and just get this party started. Go ahead and share the window. All right. Hopefully everybody can see that. So Scott says he's going to be looking at Baton Rouge, Louisiana. Got me thinking about gumbo. So, all right. I say in Baton Rouge, let's do a vacant property list. So with those vacant properties, a lot of times those are sitting there costing people money, whether it's, a regular person that owns it or if it's a corporate owned property. These are definitely properties that are costing people money. Maybe they're getting code violations. So let's take a look here. We'll do some vacants. We'll leave it corporate owned. But we also want to go ahead and exclude the active and the pending MLS listings. So we'll kick those out. That we're not getting calls from realtors. We'll roll on down. Let's say years owned. Let's do at least 1 year. We'll give them a year to find out that that property is a pain in the butt for them, or maybe exclude those ones that people are currently flipping. We always want to throw in these unknowns. So you can see it jumps quite a bit. So this button right here is going to add in all those blank values. So if you pull the list out and you're going through and you're looking at the years owned column, there's going to be a bunch of blanks on the extra 3,000 or so that we add back in, or 2,000 that we add back in. So we want to keep those in because most people would filter those out. So less targeted leads. All right, we'll keep on going down.
Screen's black.
Oh, sorry.
Sure.
There we go. Sorry about that, guys. All right, so we'll go back up. Now you can see the screen here. So we started off with Baton Rouge, Louisiana. We got 4,002 records currently because what we did was we added in the vacants. We took a look at we took out the active and the pending MLS listings. So we're excluding those. Then we added in 1 year of ownership. And then what we did was add in the unknowns. So that way we're adding in the records that most people would filter out. So that can make a difference. All right, so property type. Most people are looking for single family homes. Let's just see. You can do single family and multifamily. It's a vacant multifamily though. I mean, it might be like a burnt out property. So usually those things are pretty much occupied, at least a couple of the units. We'll keep them in there just for fun. And then just to show you some of the basics here. So when you add in beds and baths, sometimes if they're not documenting correctly, that can actually drop the total record count drastically because they're not keeping records that accurately. So let's take a look. Just for example, sometimes people like 3 2s. So dropped it down to 354. So we'll add in the unknowns. 3 bed, 2 baths. So it jumped that number way up again. So what we can do in that case is leave those in there, or I like to just go down and filter by square footage. So you can do a minimum of 1,000 square feet. Still add in those unknowns. But that way we know that we're getting a good sized property in 1,000 square feet. You know, you're probably getting in that, minimum 2 bed, 2 bath. Now, also, we'll go down to the year built. I'm sure Baton Rouge has some pretty old properties, but sometimes people want to do, properties that were around after the building code was put in place. Maybe they don't want to mess with knob and tube wiring. So run into any of those issues, that'll burn the house down. So 1978 or newer, sometimes that's a good place to start when it comes to your year built. And then max, if you want to do 2010, see what we can come up with. All right. So we got 2,478 so far. And then market value. So you can leave it wide open. They're vacants. So, as long as you can get it for a good deal, somebody's willing to buy it if you're wholesaling, right? Or if you're just wanting to stay between, say, 100,000 and 300,000, maybe in that median price range, we'll put that in there. So it drops us down to 1,090 records. Equity in this case, it probably doesn't matter, but I like to do about 40% equity. So we got the 888s. So just to break it down over here, we got 278 owner occupied, 595 absentee owners, 535 in-state absentee, 60 out-of-state absentee owners, and then 143 corporate owned properties. So that would be a good vacant property list that you want to target. We'd obviously want to add that into another list. So we like to stack those lists along with some others, some tired landlords, some intrafamily transfers. So owner occupied lists are good as well. But what we would do is hit get records, confirm those, and then we would also want to go in and dedupe those, of course. So if we're going to mail them, we don't want to send, multiple pieces to one person, or maybe we do, right? So if we want to dedupe by mailing or property address, we can talk about that and what that would do for you. So we can actually do that all from here. So if you subscribe to REI Smart Data, one of the cool things is you can actually dedupe inside of there. So we just removed 2 duplicates there from the property address. And then the mailing address, let's just see, took out 50. So you always want to dedupe. We'll go back, take a look at some other lists. Let's just pop back over here. Oh, we'll stop sharing. See if anybody has any questions. Any questions? Any questions, anyone? I know you couldn't see the screen earlier, so we just had a little technical difficulty there. But I do want to remind you, we're giving away 1,000 mail pieces. So if you're just now joining, you didn't know that yet, we are going to be giving away 1,000. That is 1,000 mail pieces today. So go ahead and comment in the comment section. That's actually how you enter to win. Comment in the comment section. We will pick somebody from there. Go ahead and comment your market, and that's what's going to get you entered to win. Then we'll let you know how to claim that prize at the very end of the video. So again, like, subscribe, comment in the comment section. That way you can enter to win for that 1,000 mail piece giveaway. Who else do we have? Susan from Birmingham, Alabama. Scott Snofsky. All right. Anybody else? Anybody else? All right. Let's just hop into it. We're in St. Louis, so I do want to do a St. Louis list. Let's take a look here. Go ahead and go back and share the screen. This time, I'm sure you can see it. Let's go back. Oh. Okie doke. So we're going to do St. Louis, Missouri. That's actually where we're based out of. Chesterfield to be exact. So St. Louis, Missouri. Chesterfield is a suburb just outside of the city. All right. So St. Louis City, we have a total of 367,000 records. So you can see 222,000 are owner-occ. We have 134,000 absentee owners, 113,000 in-state absentee owners, 20,000 out-of-state absentees, and then 61,000 corporate-owned properties. So quite a bit. St. Louis is actually a hot market, if you didn't know. So we have a bunch of these different filters, but we're going to roll without those today, guys. So let's do a tired landlord list. Always like tired landlords. So everybody likes to do absentee owners because, you know, a lot of times when you get those properties, these guys will trade these things like trading cards, right? The tenants, if you have a good tenant in there, maybe you want to buy it with that tenant, it works out great. Also, you know, if these things are vacant absentees, then it's not like they have to find somewhere else to go before you can buy that property. So we'll go ahead and do some absentee owners. A good tired landlord is probably in that 10 to 15 year owned range. Let's just do 15 years. But again, we want to add in those the unknowns. So make sure we add those back in. We'll exclude the active and the pending MLS listings. Property type, let's do some single family. We've got some really cool old multifamily buildings here in St. Louis. Some really old architecture, beautiful architecture, and then they turn some of them into multifamily. So if you're into that kind of thing, we'll throw those into this list. Again, beds and baths. Let's see how they're tracking it here compared to Baton Rouge. Let's do 3 2s again. We'll keep it fair. Put 1854. And we'll go up to 4,000. So add in another couple thousand records. Let's just bump that out. Again, I like to just do that square footage of living. Let's do 700 on this one. There's some smaller homes in the city, but that way we can at least kick out those Cracker Jack boxes. All right, adding in those unknowns. That makes quite a big difference, as you can see. So adds in another 1,000 records or so. So it's 1,000 records most people would not target based on that square footage of living. So we'll add those back in, and then year built. Whew. All right, there's some old ones around here. So let's say 1900 or newer. So let's go up to like 2012 this time. Add in those unknowns. All right, so we got 14,391 records. Typically, when we pull a list, we're going to run that through a value scraper. We then run it through an AI tool. Her name's Lucy. So after Lucy scores these records from positive 600 to negative 600 on who is least likely to sell, we're left with we lose about 35 to 40% of those records. So we always want to pull more than we need. That way we're left with enough records to mail. So in this case, we might want to trim that down a little bit if we're going after just like one deal a month. Using about a 0.5% response rate as the national average. we might need about 5,000 pieces if you're a good closer. So 5,000 records, we still got some work to do. So let's trim this up a little bit more. Estimated market value, we always want to keep that in mind, but there are some cheap properties here. So let's just do 20,000 to 300,000. We'll make that our buy box. So we trimmed it down a little bit. We'll add back in those unknowns, and then let's go after some high equity. So usually those landlords are going to have some good equity in these properties if they've owned them for about 15 years. So dialed it back a little bit. Now maybe we want to go after maybe a like a lesser experienced investor, people that don't have so many properties. So maybe we don't want to waste our money on that. Let's take a look at like 5 properties owned max. So 5,900. Okay. What I would do, just to make sure we have enough, we could probably trim back that years of ownership. Let's dial it back to like 13. See where that puts us. That'd put us just about where we need to be when it comes to pulling a list of about 5,000 people. So that's how I would do a good tired landlord list with absentee owners. So if you guys want, skim over this, see if there's anything that you want to jot down in some notes. Or you can always just hop on a call with one of our direct marketing coaches, and any one of us would be happy to go over this with you and help you pull a list. So we're going to go ahead and conclude that tired landlord list out of St. Louis. We're going to stop sharing this screen. If you want, comment your market in the chat and ask any questions you have. And then also, I do want to remind you, we are giving away 1,000 mail pieces. So by commenting in the chat, that's what's going to get you entered to win. So let me see here. Let's say you got to comment a fire emoji to enter to win this. Philip already did it. So Philip's entered. I don't know if that counts though. How do you know if your list is too broad or too narrow? Ooh, that's a good question. So a lot of times people will want to filter their list down so tight. They want to be like a sniper, right? They're like, I want 3 phone calls and I want all 3 calls to be a deal. But unfortunately, it doesn't work that way. It is still a numbers game. So you have to play the odds a little bit. So that is what we do here. We track the actual response rates. That way we can help you play those odds correctly. So you don't want to filter it down too tight, but we do want to keep it broad enough to where we're playing the numbers game. So if we're looking at a 0.5% response rate, you're a 1 in 25 phone call closer. We need to have at least 5,000 pieces going out there. So don't dial it in too tight. But that's what I would say for that. All right. Anybody want to comment their market? Got a strong presence here. I got it. All right. So I'll go ahead and add in one more list that I want to pull here. Let's do, has anybody seen that new movie with Adam Sandler in it? Oh, Tampa? Okay. Let's add in Tampa. We're going to go ahead and share the screen here. I'm going to put my sunscreen on before we go down to Tampa real quick. All right. Let's clear this out. Make sure we got all that cleared out. All right. Down in Tampa, Florida. We have a lot of luck down in Tampa. So I know that market can be kind of, it can be a little sporadic with values, but still it's been a solid market for investors for a long time. So in Tampa, let's see, let's do a owner occupied list. So the other day we had a client that he was doing good, but he wanted to do a little bit better. So just make some changes. So we shook it up. We added in an owner occupied list for him. And I checked back a little bit later just to see how things were going. And he actually had a phone call from that list. And come to find out, the guy was super motivated. So he said just about everything on the phone, but I'm getting a divorce. They asked him why he wanted to sell the property. He said he's tired of it. He's tired of his house, tired of the old lady, tired of everything. So it's time for it to go. So this guy sounded like a complete laydown. So I always like adding in some owner occupied stuff. Everybody focuses on absentees. Sometimes they forget about that owner occupied. So let's take a look at the owner occupieds there. So Tampa got 165,000 owner occupied properties. Then we got 5,427 of them, they're corporate owned. So we'll roll on down. Maybe we kick out those corporate owned. We'll exclude those active and pending MLS listings again. We always want to do that. All right. And then years owned. Let's do at least 3 years owned. Let's have a little time decay on it. They've lived in it, maybe tore up the carpet, bumped the walls up a little bit. So we'll let it have a little time decay. We'll add in those unknowns. We don't want to forget about that. All right. Property type. Let's go after some single family homes. Pretty cool thing, actually. I haven't showed you guys yet. So we can actually take a look at stories. So maybe you only want a ranch. Let's see if they're tracking that. Say we want to do a single family home. So max 1 story. So that way we can target, we got 81,000 ranches out there. 625 of them are vacant. So definitely want to keep those in there. Let's scroll back up here. And then we'll put in our buy box. So let's take a look at those single families, square footage of living. Let's say we got 700 to, let's say 2,800 square feet. Add in the unknowns. Always want to do that, those less targeted records. We'll go down, we got the year built. Let's see, let's do 78 to 2010. So again, we want to have some good time decay on there. That way these things have been lived in. If you're, a wholesaler or you're going in to do fix and flips, you want to be able to point to some things to basically justify your lower offer. So it's a little bit easier. Again, we want to add in those unknowns because people over the phone will act like they have the Taj Mahal. And then as soon as you show up, that mask comes off, right? They cannot hide behind the phone anymore. Now you're standing in the ugliest room in the house talking about what you're going to offer them for their property. Then when you go to sell it, stand in the prettiest room in the house and talk about selling it. So that's how a lot of investors do it. Also, I suggest going out to the property because it's tough to do it over the phone, especially if they think they have the Taj Mahal. So estimated market value, let's say there's probably not too many cheap ones there in Tampa. We'll say our max is going to be 400 on this one. So we got a good amount. We'll add in those unknowns again. All right, and let's add in some good equity, 40%. All right, cool. So that's going to be a strong owner-occupied list. We would then pull that list out, run it through, get all the values. This will actually give us values, but we have a proprietary software that we use to get a little bit closer, right? So then we like to average those and put an amount on an offer piece. If we're doing an offer piece, we're going to need to run it through the value scraper. And then we run it through an AI tool. Again, her name's Lucy. Lucy is going to help us determine who is most likely and least likely to sell their property. That way we can filter that buy box down a little bit like Susan was talking about. Okie doke. All right, that about sums it up for that one. So that's going to be that owner occupied list. Again, we would just go ahead and pull that list here for Tampa, Florida. Pull it out, download it, dedupe it. There's a few things that do have to take place before we actually mail that list. If you don't want to deal with it, reach out to one of our coaches. You can go to REIPrintMail.com and pick a coach, book a meeting, and any one of us would be happy to help you out. So we'll go ahead and stop sharing. See if anybody has any questions. It's time for some questions, guys. Remember, you have to comment in the chat to win that 1,000 pieces. You have to comment the fire emoji to win the 1,000 pieces. I need to see some more fire emojis. All right. So I know we talked about that new Adam Sandler movie. It was actually shot somewhere around Essex County, New Jersey. So I'm thinking maybe we do that on our next one. Should you focus on one zip code or spread out? I feel like that determines or that depends on the size of the zip code. Some zip codes are so small, right? You don't have enough records. So we would have to add in more zip codes. So we can filter by zip code, county, or city. So just let us know there. If we need to zoom out a little bit, though, we'll let you know. But yeah, you can always focus on one zip code as long as it's big enough. So let's share this. Let's take a look at Essex County. All right. So they're in Essex County. We have about 154,000 total records. Let's see, what kind of list do we want to do on this one? Maybe we do, a lot of people don't really know, but we could do an absentee vacant list, or I'm sorry, an owner occupied vacant list, which sounds kind of funny, but these are homes that are in transition. So these are definitely good ones to hit. If that house is sitting vacant, maybe the guy moved in with his, new wife, right? Then this property could be a thorn in his side at this point. And if you can solve that problem, you're going to be the hero. So let's do a owner occupied vacant. So say vacant, owner occ. So what we have going on. So 364. It's not a ton, but that's all right. We can add that to one big list. So we're going to exclude the active and the pending MLS listings. Years owned. Let's say minimum 1 year owned. See what we have. Add in the unknowns. Property type. Do a single family home. See if there's any multifamilies. We got a couple in there. So we'll leave that. I'm sure you guys wouldn't mind getting a multifamily here and there. And then, let's see here. Add in that year built. I say we leave it pretty open. Let's go pretty broad here. We'll do 1900 to 2015. You know what? That'll work. Okay, so then estimated market value. We can be a little broad on that as well. Again, those owner occupied vacants, it's going to be a small list anyway. So we don't want to dial it in too tight, but we do want to make sure it fits that buy box. So let's say our max is 500,000. But add in those vacants, or I'm sorry, the unknowns. There must be some expensive properties around there. Okay. We're still going to use 500,000. We'll dial it in a little tighter. But yeah, we only have 89 in there. Equity-wise, let's see what that does. All right, so not a lot. Let's take this out. So yeah, we don't have a ton below 500,000. So looks like that's going to be some high buck properties out there. But if you're cool with that and the deal is right, you can definitely make something happen. So don't be afraid of that. But that would be a really good owner occupied vacant list. So you can throw that into, stack that into any list that you have going on, or, multiple lists that you have that you want to mail. So there will be some good motivation with those guys. All right. So that concludes that list. That's there in Essex County, New Jersey. If you guys have any questions, comment them. Let me see here. Throw them in the comments. We'll answer those questions for you as best we can, hopefully. Comment the fire emoji so you can enter to win for that 1,000 free mail pieces. I think it's time to give one away. Let's just see. Which state do you think is the most targeted by investors? Which state? I don't know. Texas is pretty hot. There's a lot of people going down to Texas. So if you want, we can go down to Texas for this next one. I have to put my cowboy hat on for that, but we will go down there on this next one here, Samuel. All right. Megan, thanks for the fire emoji. All right, cool. So we're gonna do this last one actually before we pick the winner. Let's go ahead and share the screen here. Go on down to Texas. All right. Oop, clear these out. Let's do Austin, Texas. Oop. We'll do Austin County. All right. So Austin County, pretty good size. So we got 15,000 total records. Again, we got 8,100 owner occupied, 5,794 absentee owners, 5,600 in-state absentee, 169 out-of-state absentee, right? 14,000 are considered high equity. 11,000 are free and clear. So that's always good. 13 pre-foreclosures, 164 vacants, and then 55 REOs. Okay. So let's do a list as if you were going to be doing like subject to. I know a lot of people do subject to. So they're going after those rates that people were getting in like the 2020 to 2022. So let's see here. We'll not do vacants. Let's do some absentees. We'll exclude those corporate owned. So we don't want to do. Stay away from those. Exclude the active and pending MLS listings. And if you're doing subject to, you don't really care about the equity. You just want that good interest rate. So say years owned, let's say 4 years. So max 4 years. We'll do a minimum of 2. Okay, not a ton. Let's add in those unknowns. All right, so now we got 3,500 records. So we'll keep on rolling down here. Property type, the single families. And this time, let's see if they're doing beds and baths. So let's do 3 2s, just see what's going on down there. Add in those unknowns. All right, so we filtered it down to 1,379 records. So again, we would always want to add that, to another list. You want to have a good amount of records to mail for it to make sense. Let's keep going. Year built. Let's do 1960 on this one. Doesn't look like they're tracking that well, but 1960 or newer. So let's go up to 2005. Trim that down. Okay. So there was a lot of construction going on. Let's do 2015. Let's do 2020. You know what? Do you really care if it's a good deal with a good rate on it? Okay. So you can assume that loan or buy and sell on a lease option there. So estimated market value. So let's put a cap on it of about 500K. Add in those unknowns. Okay. We might have to step it up a little bit. Let's do 600K. Again, not a ton. Let's just see here. Okay. One more 0. All right. So 529 records. And equity, again, we're going to leave that blank because we really don't, it doesn't really matter. We're going after somebody that bought that home in 2021 to 2022, 2020 to 2022. The ones that have those good rates or had the opportunity to get those good rates. So not to say that, people that bought before that didn't refinance in that time, but this would be a good way to interject those. So that's what I would do if I was buying and selling on lease options, going after those loans with the good rates. So we'll step back here, hop back over to the chat, see what we have going on. Should you focus on one zip code or spread out? Which state do you think is most targeted? Which list stacking combo tends to convert best in competitive markets? Ooh, that's a good question. So I like to do tired landlords, throw in some owner occupieds, and then also if you can get like divorce, probate, pre-foreclosures. So put all of those together. That way you have a good range of motivators. So motivating factors. And then from there, it's all about testing with marketing, right? So let's run it. Let's take a look at that 60 or 90-day point and see where our deals are coming from, right? So if they're coming from one list over another, maybe we can expand our search a little bit. We'll focus on that type of list, but maybe we open it up, do more zip codes or more counties, and just focus on that. So it looks like we do have a winner. They gave us the fire emoji. You might know her name. Her name is Megan Dalton. So Megan, you do have to stick around to the very, very end to figure out how to claim your prize. So we're going to give you a 1,000 mail piece giveaway. You can always schedule the call, but stick around, find out. If you guys have any questions for the next 5 minutes or so, we're going to open it up to just a Q&A. So go ahead and ask your questions. We'll do our best to answer those. All right. All right. So no questions. Nobody has any questions. Again, do we want to give another 1,000 away? I don't know. I think that'll do. So Megan, what you're going to need to do is text this number right here, 636-736-0695. So again, that's 636-736-0695. All right. Go ahead and text your name and email, and then we'll have your phone number. We'll reach out to you and talk to you about how we're going to build that list and what mail piece to send in your market. Once again, thanks for joining us today, guys. My name is Nathan Zarowski with REIPrintMail. Feel free to book a call with any of our coaches. We would love to help you out, even just to have a conversation and answer any questions you have. Thanks again. Hope to see you on the next one.